Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and I just saw the Thunderbolts. Is it as good as people say? Is the MCU back? For me, I think there's just a lot at stake for this film, like possibly the future of Marvel Studios. As Kevin Feige kind of hung his hat, or maybe his many different hats, on the idea of Marvel being able to take more obscure characters from the comics and turn them into big stars through great stories and great movies. And yet it is seeming less and less like that is viable in today's marketplace. And it may well be the case that Marvel and comic book movies in general must now shift into A-list, very popular characters because of potential fatigue and waning interest in the genre. So there's a lot at stake here. Let's get into it. Thunderbolts, how did it hit me? I really like this movie, man. I think it is a solid entry to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't quite know what I would rate it exactly, and I don't know quite where it fits within like all the other films, but I definitely walked away from this movie knowing that I loved it, that I enjoyed it, and throughout the course of the film, I was laughing at a lot of the jokes. I was feeling tense. I was wrapped up in the story. So overall, it was like a really good experience, really entertaining, which is so weird because like that feels like a weird bar, right? Like that's not really what we should be aiming for. It should be absolutely fucking incredible. But the thing is, Marvel has kind of fallen into a weird place. And for me personally, like a lot of the projects, I don't just not enjoy them. I have an actively terrible time as I'm watching them. Like Love and Thunder, Quantumania, The Marvels, Brave New World. These movies were not just bad to me. These movies were so bad, and I was also so frustrated as a fan because I'm like, what is happening? That I had like an actively terrible time watching these films. And I'm so fucking happy that that didn't happen with Thunderbolts. It's competently made. It's well acted. It's funny as hell. It's really entertaining. The action is cool. I had a good ass time. And so in that way, yes, it does feel like throwback Marvel. We talk about some of the things I really think were well executed in the movie. Then I'll talk about a few things that I don't love. And then I want to talk about just Marvel overall, because spoiler alert, there is a part of me that's a little unfulfilled even with this movie, which I do love and I want to see again. So that's kind of a complicated thing. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. Everybody is talking about how this movie has to do with mental health and it's tackling complicated issues of mental health and doing it in a good way. And that is true, although I think people are overstating it. I think there's a few things that people are not talking enough about with regards to the movie, and possibly even doing the film a bit of a disservice. Because it almost feels like people are trying to say it's a big old therapy session, and it's a little bit like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was like just too much for a lot of us. We're like, okay, we get it. We're real fucking sad. The thing is, this movie is hilarious, and it's also self-aware of how bad we all are at taking care of our mental health, and humor is actually a really important part of coping and just enjoying life and finding a way through the fog of depression, right? And not enough people are saying this. This movie is genuinely really funny. Like, it reminds me of Ragnarok in that sense, that like it's a little on the sillier side, but it honestly just works. Like, it's landing and you can't help but laugh, and yet you're not ever fully taken out of the thing. Alexi is absolutely hilarious. John Walker is so damn funny, and especially early on when they all first meet up, Walker is so important to like pulling those scenes together. Yelena's really funny too, man. She has some really funny moments and quips throughout the film. It just generally was surprising to me at how much I found myself laughing. I think the performances are really great, but John Walker really stands out to me. Like, it's kind of crazy how important his role was to like driving the plot and the dynamic of the characters, because he thinks he's the best, he thinks he's going to be the quarterback, and yet he also like has some credibility in some situations because of it. It's kind of interesting. I thought Yelena did great, particularly in her scenes with her father and in her scenes with Bob. She really pulls some emotional moments through with a great performance, which totally landed for me. But I think the performance that everybody's sleeping on is Louis Pullman himself as Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry. This dude handled like 3 different versions of each one of the characters, the Void and the Sentry. It was actually fascinating. Like, I think he really did a great job. He was innocent when he needed to be innocent. It was a little foreboding, mysterious at times. He could be very scary and intense. He could look stoic and strong, weak and confused. It was all over the place, man. And he absolutely nailed every single note that the script asked of him. This was a great performance. The action in the movie is incredible and really, really stylish. The usage of the powers was great. That first fight was really good. Taskmaster actually has some really cool moments before she gets capped in the face, which I also thought was awesome. I'm sorry, I'm a toxic fan, but I thought that was great. The stuff with Sentry was really great. I mean, there's one scene, I don't want to spoil it, but he kind of does the Sentry stuff, and it's absolutely incredible. Bucky's scenes were unfucking believable. Really, really fun, really well choreographed. The action felt super slick and stylized, and yet it could get very grand in scale as well. And some of the stuff with Sentry was like incredible. I was like, damn, I've never even seen stuff like that in the MCU before. I also loved how lived in this movie felt. It really did feel like a proper MCU movie. I felt all kinds of elements from Marvel at play here, including these different organizations that would have hired these different people, their connections to the other Avengers, the actual Avengers Tower, the public, the discussion of the Avengers, Bucky trying to be a senator. Like, it really did feel like a proper MCU movie. And of course, there's the post-credit scenes. There's what the asterisk actually means, and we're going to get into spoilers in just a second, but let me just take one brief moment here to talk about just a couple of things that didn't work for me in the film. The first thing is a Florence Pugh thing, and I love Florence Pugh in the movie, but there is just parts of her action sequences that are sometimes hard to buy. And it's not just that she's a female, because Scarlett Johansson is obviously also a female, and she's just bigger. Like, she's taller and has a better build, more physical build. Florence is pretty tiny, man, and it is kind of difficult to actually buy just some of the choreographs that they have, like some of the action, some of the fighting with Florence Pugh. I'm like, yeah, I don't really think that strike would do that damage. It's not all the time, it's not super noticeable, but it does kind of take me out a little bit. I wish maybe they'd choreograph it a little bit better, utilize more of like the jujitsu type movements with her body movement and her flipping around, because her strikes are really what killed me. It's like she does these little strikes and you're like, hell no, like, I'm sorry, that's not gonna do nothing. And the only other thing that was a hang up for me was the movie feels almost like it ends abruptly, and I can't help but get the feeling that this movie was still just kind of held back. Like, I would have loved to see this team of heroes at the beginning of Phase 4 get this film and then have sequels and have more breadth of story over like the next couple of years to do whatever they needed to do. There's a lot of story left, and even Bob and the Sentry and the Void and the Dark Side there, them fighting as technically the new Avengers, but I guess it's kind of like technically a spoiler. I'm sorry, I guess I spoiled it. I'm sorry. I would have loved to see them develop over time and even interact with other great Marvel characters, but I kind of felt like the end of the movie just kind of wraps it up. They're just thrown out there as the new Avengers, and it's just to perfectly fit in with Doomsday. So the movie feels wildly constricted because it's just set up for what that film is going to be, and at the same time, it just didn't go for it enough. You know, this is kind of hard to explain. So let me now get into, we're going to get into spoilers here, and I want to talk about my hang up as a fan, like why this movie just didn't hit masterpiece for me. Because dude, it's really fucking good. It's really stylish. It's really slick. And I think some of what is just keeping it from like masterpiece or like I need to see it again territory is the Marvel universe itself. Like, again, the movie's restricted because of its place in time, and I almost believe if we would have had more time, or if this movie had gone out faster, or things had just generally been different, this band of characters might have had more to do. I mean, when was Falcon and Winter Soldier? Like years ago? Brave New World obviously just happened, but that feels super disconnected from this film. And I just think back to Civil War. Like, the movie before the two Avengers movies last time was Civil War, right? And like, that is a movie that just made a huge impact, had all the big characters. It felt so big. You were seeing Spider-Man for the first time. You were seeing Black Panther for the first time in the MCU. And it's just different. Now, I know we're getting Fantastic Four, and that's technically maybe bigger. That also feels kind of small, though, because it's all its own universe. We already see kind of how it's going to connect via the post-credit scene to this movie, Thunderbolts. Maybe this movie just had to be what it was to then fit into Doomsday and all that craziness. But it's like, it just feels kind of tonally separate. Like, it's so fun. This was so slick. It was so cool, but it almost wasn't big enough. Like, if old man Steve Rogers had come back in this movie or something. Like, and I know it sounds fanboyish, but I'm just saying, like, that shit matters to me. As a big fan, I want to be wowed. I want to go crazy. I want to be like, oh my fucking God. Like, what can I say about this movie that has that kind of energy, right? What element from this film is a fanboy dream come true. I mean, I guess Sentry, but even that's like, he's more of a plot device than really like used. Like, this isn't like Hulk turning on the Avengers and we have to see the Hulkbuster Iron Man. That's not even close to what happens in this movie, right? So I guess what I'm saying is I would love it if this movie and Deadpool and Wolverine did like the fusion dance from Dragon Ball, because Deadpool just nails the fan service and the cameos and like the flavor. I love that stuff, man. That's why I love comics, and like Deadpool and Wolverine is like a comic book come to life, and you got to give it flowers for that reason. But of course, Thunderbolts is so much of a more tight script. It is so much more of a tight story. It's so much more character driven. It had a lot of things that I really enjoyed. I want the movies to do a fusion dance. I want that movie, and maybe that's what Doomsday is, but I don't know, man. I guess what I'm saying is I wanted to love this movie more, and I feel like my love of the movie is in some ways being hampered or diminished or dampered by the Marvel universe, by everything around it. It's almost like Marvel now is in a place, because they made everything so connected, that they make total bangers like this. And I'm telling you, this movie's fucking slick. Like, it's really good. And yet I just don't know that I would run out to see it again. I don't know that I'm having so much fun with it that I want to, you know, make a ton of videos about it and gush about it and like just experience that as a fan. Like, it's still just not hitting in the way that like Civil War did, right? So I don't know. That's just my thoughts, and it's kind of hard to put those thoughts into word parts, but I guess it's my job. Maybe I fucked it up. I don't know. You let me know. Now, I will say this movie is tracking pretty well. It technically tracked up from its expectations. I think the Rotten Tomato score helped. I think the fan screenings from last week helped. I guess we're going to see. We're going to see how big this film can get, because it is good, man. And I think most people are going to tell you that. Most people are going to really enjoy it and really like it. And one last thing on that. I sort of got the feeling as I was watching it that the only way you could really not enjoy the movie is if you just didn't love all the Marvel things, right? So if you just don't like Marvel, you don't like their formula, or you don't like the connections to other things, yeah, you're probably not gonna like the movie, because it does all of that, because it's a Marvel movie, right? So I kind of get this sense that if you don't like that, if you're just looking for like a total cinephile experience, yeah, maybe this movie isn't even gonna hit that way. But the vast majority of people, and I think this, you just look at the audience score that's gonna come out, look at the critic score, and that will adjust slightly. But for now, it just really seems like basically 8 to 9 out of 10 people are going to tell you it's a good movie, right? So, you know, you're going to have people that don't like it, but by and large, people do. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I'll talk more about this on the live stream, and I'll possibly get into spoilers and stuff there too. So come on by. Then, as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.